Can you kind of tell us your thoughts on real estate investing?
They did a study, I don't know if you guys heard this. There are something like 20 million people that have $1 million in cash in their bank that they could invest across the world, right? And there's 7 billion people. So they did a poll, and what do you think the number one way was that those people ended up with that much liquid cash?
It's got to be real estate.
The number one way was having your parents die.
Oh, inheritance.
Oh. Right?
Yeah, of course, inheritance. Yeah, sure.
The number two way was owning a business.
A business.
And number three was real estate.
Okay.
Right? So the path to wealth, as far as I'm concerned, and independence, let's not even call it wealth, let's call it being able to do what you want, is through owning a business or investing in real estate.
Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 40 of the Realized Gains podcast. I'm Stephen Tran. I'm a licensed broker in Oregon and Washington, and I invest in multifamily and short-term rentals.
And I'm your co-host, Jordan Lee. I'm a mortgage lender based in Portland, Oregon, licensed in about 9 states. And I invest in single-family homes. Stephen, who are we interviewing today?
So today we interviewed Rick Sadle, principal broker of the Sadle Team. They run the most successful team in our office. He goes over about how he structured his team to really specialize in all different aspects in listings, on their buyer's side, just basically how he's organized the team to be super efficient.
Yeah, he gives a great story about kind of moving up from the convenience store business into the business of real estate. So I think he's got a great mindset. So if you're interested in learning about how to build a business, if you're interested in learning about investing in real estate, I think this is a good podcast for you.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 40 of the Realized Gains podcast. I'm Stephen Tran.
And I'm your co-host, Jordan Lee. And hey, Stephen, so who we got on the show today?
Yeah, today we have Rick Sadle of the Sadle Team. Can you give us a little bit of an intro of yourself?
Yeah, sure. I run a real estate team of about, 20, 25 people. Been doing it for 19 plus years.
How'd you find your way into real estate?
By accident, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I did. You guys know what affiliate marketing is?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, so back in the day when you could get a Google click for a quarter, I was actually, I owned convenience stores and stuff like that. Anyways, I was playing around with affiliate marketing, which is where you put an ad on Google for, let's say, Best Buy. Someone clicks the link, you spend a quarter, and maybe you got 30 cents worth of commissions off that purchase. Doing that is kind of a hobby at night.
Just on the side
just to see if I could make a positive cash flow off that little game.
This is like the original internet marketing.
Yeah, this was 2004. No, 3 or 4, right? So when affiliate marketing and pay-per-click was just becoming a thing. Anyways, my wife and I she was going to get her license to buy some of our own rental properties, and so we did that. And then I put a template website up for her and started advertising her on Google. Unbeknownst to her, her phone started to ring.
Really?
And she sold 42 properties that year.
Wow.
Obviously, at that point, internet marketing was a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
So
and nobody was
very
doing
profitable.
it. Right,
Nobody was doing it. And so then, a year later, we sold our 3 convenience stores, and I got my license, and we went into business together. So. It was just it started out as a lark and a game, and it turned into a profitable way to live. So,
Wow, interesting. So, but you had already invested in real estate before you guys had thought about becoming licensed and getting into it, or?
Yeah. No, we developed some of our own commercial properties. We own tobacco and coffee shops, basically drive-through coffee shops, and so we developed a couple of our own properties, and we had bought and sold a couple of rentals, and we thought, since she was helping me run our other business, but had a little bit of extra time, she could be I'm always looking for ways to monetize things.
Yeah.
That's kind of my goal, right? So we figured she could be the conduit for those things. She can get her license and help us, acquire land and rentals and stuff like that. And so that's why she got her license. It turned out to not be the primary focus of her license.
So you're just trying to save that 5% or so, basically?
I mean, yeah.
But I mean,
exactly
it
correct.
adds up if you're doing it multiple times, if you're trying to scale up, right?
Yeah, I mean that was the thing. We were doing some larger, not like multi-unit, but some larger land development projects to put some So we were buying and selling a number of pieces of land and a couple of rentals, and we were doing some stuff in Washington, and so it just kind of made sense, to have her be the expert on those things, and make
And how did you
make a few percent.
find your way into the first line of business, into the convenience store business? Did you inherit that from family, or?
No. I actually through college I managed a 7-Eleven.
Okay. So you just started working at one while you're in college?
Yeah, I was a graveyard clerk in college, and then made my way to manager, and then it's kind of what I knew. I was actually going to school for radio broadcast management.
Okay.
Right.
That sounds completely off, like different.
Oh,
world.
completely different way. That's where I got my degree, all that stuff. But then was working through college at the 7-Eleven. Decided I liked business. I liked profit and loss statements. I liked figuring out how to make money, and so that's where I headed.
And you could recognize in that convenience store, like, hey, this isn't a bad business. Maybe I'll have one of mine, or.
Yeah, I mean the deal it was a franchise owner,
Yep.
and his deal that he made with me was he was going to go off and do his own thing, and I would have complete control of the business, right? Profit and loss, expenses, and stuff like that, and I got a percentage of the cut.
Oh, okay.
So it gave me experience in figuring out.
So very early on, you were basically in sales, or you were your own owner. more or
I was
less.
decreasing
Yeah.
expenses to
Yep.
make more profit.
Yep.
Just that stuff was just fascinating.
Did you get into like a big chain convenience store, or just like local small family convenience stores?
Well, I tried the chain convenience store route. I'm for those that know me, I've got a strong personality. So I went to the Southland Corporation. I was going to buy a 7-Eleven. Had some disagreements with some of the regional management there. Decided not to go into business in the corporate world, and bought a couple of my own independents.
So you just found some independent ones. Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, getting into that business, obviously, like I've never gotten into like that world where you have to manage like tons of inventory and expiration dates and all this stuff. So how was that?
It was terrible. It was terrible. Watching people. Look, I did it for a long time. I had at one point, I probably had 30 employees who were, kids.
Right. I mean,
17-year-old,
the birth and
19-year-old.
death cycle of those employees is what, 6 months?
Yeah, it was terrible. And my stores, a couple of my stores were 24 hours, which
Right.
meant, I was also the graveyard clerk when
Yep.
someone called in sick,
Yep.
and so I quickly learned that. I think what took me into real estate was she sold 42 houses that first year.
Yep.
We made whatever it was, a couple $100,000 off of her business. We made the same off of mine, but I had 30 mouths that I was trying to manage. It was just terrible.
The gross sales
and
yeah,
people
are the
stealing
same,
from you,
but, yeah.
and she had one part-time transaction coordinator that worked for the office, right? So it became obvious where my time was better spent.
I see. And so were you able to kind of sell those businesses for a profit, though, that you'd built up?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, we did. We turned around and put them all up for sale and sold them one by one and did all right, yeah.
Okay, nice. And so then you can transition into real estate. Did you immediately start investing in real estate as well, or were you more invested in building up your kind of real estate business and team and sales engine, I guess?
Well, we had already been investing in real estate. And then before the crash of, whatever it is here, 08 here in Oregon, right?
Yeah.
We disposed of most of those.
Okay.
We could kind of see the writing on the wall right
Okay.
before.
So you got out in time.
We got out in time.
Oh.
We sold a vacation property up in government camp. We had a couple of rentals over in Washington. Excuse me. We had one here, so we just kind of got out.
Oh, that's awesome. And can you tell us about your ramp up in this business, like just getting started, and like did you pick up business really quickly as yourself when you got into the industry?
Yeah, I mean, so look, Google pay-per-click helped us live.
That was your main model.
For the first,
yeah.
that was basically all I did, right? So what we did is we increased our spend on Google and then divided up the business into buyers and listings. And I quickly became the listing agent. I don't love to spend that much time with people in general. So rather than drive someone around in the car for 6 hours, I'd rather drive a pencil through my eye.
Right.
But so I took on the listing portion of the business, and then it just evolved from there. We hired our first, assistant within a year, and started kind of, heading up the chain, if you will.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll just put this out to our audience, but you're the most successful team in our office at the moment. Can you kind of talk about like your thought process in terms of building out your team and how you kind of got to where you're at?
I mean, yeah, I think I said earlier, I love business. I love numbers. I don't love sales. I mean, I'll just be honest. I don't love. I mean, I was very good at prospecting and knocking on for sale by owners doors and all those things. But what I really love is business. And so to me, real estate quickly became obvious. It was just a business. It's just I spend X number of dollars, I make X number of contacts, and I'll make X number of dollars back in a profit.
Right.
And I control my costs, and I ramp up the things that return a positive ROI. I do all that stuff, and I make money. And so I think from early on, I was headed in the direction of not having to do sales myself. Like that's my goal. I want to be a business person.
Yeah.
It's great that I get to help people realize their own dreams. Right. The people on my team, I get to be the guy that helped them achieve success. But I also don't have to go out and pitch myself to a home seller.
Nice.
Right.
And how quickly were you basically out of that whole like learning how to be a real estate agent, doing the transactions, to like kind of fully getting out?
It took me a long time. I mean, I'll be honest. Like I said, I am numbers minded, and you have two things, right? You have time or you have money, right? And so when we're wanting to invest money back into the business to grow, and or into investments outside of the business, if I stepped out of production, that meant that we would have to give up a portion of those dollars, right? So I think it was probably 2012, maybe 14, before I started handing over some listing business to someone else. And
so this was
14.
about 10 years?
Yeah, 9 or 10 years ago, yeah. And I didn't do it all
And
at
it was
once.
about 10 years since you started. Did you say you started in
04. So 10-ish. We've been in the business 19 plus years, so I'd say halfway through before I started
and
to
at that
remove
point,
myself
your team
from.
was how many members? So it's you, your wife.
I'd probably say 7 or 8 people total, which includes an administrative person or two, and then a few salespeople.
And some of them were members that had been on your team for a few years at that point, had kind of like senior members that could help train the new folks coming in.
Yeah, so our longest standing member of the team, she's been on 12 years. She was my first listing specialist.
Wow, that's incredible for I feel like it's so hard to retain good team members.
It is and it isn't. It is in that you have to find the right people.
Yeah.
It isn't in that. That's why I enjoy my job. My job is to be able to help them achieve whatever they need to achieve, kind of under my umbrella, so they don't have to go somewhere else.
Well, that's the thing. It's like you feel like in real estate, it's like, well, once you figure out how to do it, why work with someone else? But if you have a great value proposition as the team leader, then
and if I can help you grow to whatever extreme you want, and you don't have to leave. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, right? Like that's how you help people grow, and that's how you grow.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, we both don't like the corporate world, and they feel like it's really hard to retain people because they don't provide the value that you can possibly get on your own. But if you're in a place where the resources are given to you for you to grow to whatever scale you want to be, like, why leave?
Yeah, I'll tell you that listing specialist, she started out as a buyer's agent. She became a listing specialist. Nowadays, she probably works, she said, I heard her say the other day, actually out loud, that she really only works about 3 days a week. And she'll make a couple $100,000 doing that. And that's the life she wants to live. Right. So that we sat down, I said, what's your goal? And she was getting married. She wanted to have children. Right. The life she wanted to live was to be able to be a mom for her kid, but still make a really good living. And so that's what I set out to help her achieve.
Nice.
And if you can do that, you can keep people.
Yeah.
And so for our audience, when you say listing specialist, help us understand kind of what that breaks down to mechanically in terms of what her duties are compared to other members on the team. Because we think of like a real estate agent as kind of like doing everything start to finish.
Yeah, on our team, we try and focus our team members on what I consider to be the dollar productive activities of real estate, right? At least our agents. And that is basically converting clients, negotiating contracts.
Okay.
On our team, pretty much everything else is handled by someone else.
Right.
Right. So when she was, and we don't actually have listing and buyer specialists anymore, but she was my original listing specialist.
I see.
And what that meant was mostly what she did was go on listing appointments, convert them into clients.
Okay.
Keep in contact with them, care for them, and then pass off that to the listing manager, who then kind of does all the marketing stuff. And
Got
then she would negotiate an offer when it came in, and she would turn around and hand that to the transaction manager, who would handle it from there to close.
She's basically the client-facing that's all she's doing, right?
That's all she's
meeting with
doing.
the client, helping them understand what the contract is, negotiating with them, and then all the other details taken care of.
Handled by somebody else, yeah. And that's because that's what a skilled.
Right.
I hate to say it this way. I have an amazingly skilled transaction manager. She's probably closed at this point 2,000 transactions, herself. So she knows more about contracts than anyone else on the
She's
face
not
of the
going
planet.
to mess up the details. She's not going to put the wrong number in the addendum.
That doesn't happen.
Like it's right every time.
She catches us all the time,
Yeah.
myself included. But why have someone who's kind of a jack of all trades, master of none, being the person that manages those contracts, right? And we deal in some as you guys know, some pretty serious contracts in our business.
Of course.
So why have someone who's really good at connecting with people and converting people and negotiating and doing those? Why have them in charge with dotting I's and crossing T's on a contract, right?
Right.
So we try and have all of those things handled by somebody else that I can pay those people to do.
Makes sense.
So when you pull somebody onto your team, do you do an interview process to figure out you should go here, you should go there, you're good at this, you're detailed at that, or how do you kind of figure it out?
Anymore, and knock on wood, I have the best administrative people, the best transaction managers. We don't even need those people anymore, right? So anymore, if I'm hiring someone, it's to go out and do what my listing specialist used to do, to go out and convert people and negotiate contracts. So I do look at the type of person they are and whether or not they fit that profile. If they don't, and they're more an administrative person, then I would send them on to someone else, because that's not what we're looking for right now.
Got it. And so you mentioned early on that you were in that early Google ad space. The internet lead space has changed a ton in the last 20 some odd years. Are you still like kind of trying to stay in front of that and like getting with the newest stuff, or have you guys moved to a more conventional model, or what is your kind of lead philosophy there?
No, I said to Stephen earlier that I'm a tech dork guy, right? And I still am.
Yeah, sure, I like
torque.
that.
We'll go
Never
with
heard
torque.
that before, but I like it.
That, yeah.
I still try and find whatever the coolest, most highest ROI, obviously, but whatever the leading tech is. I will say, and we talked about this earlier too, in terms of social media, being how I'm wired, and I told you guys earlier, I don't love to be around people that much,
Right.
Yeah.
let alone post on Facebook or
Which is funny because you almost
Instagram
never hear a successful realtor say that.
because I'm a business person.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyways, but I do still try and find whatever the latest trend is. I think that for a while it was, believe it or not, it was getting free leads off of Craigslist for a number of years.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I've heard that
You
before.
remember that?
Yeah.
So whatever the newest trend is, I'm trying to stay on the front edge of that.
Okay. And is that like proprietary stuff that we don't get to share with our viewers, or?
There are a few proprietary things that I wouldn't share with our viewers.
I don't know.
I like that. I like that.
I do. I'll tell you that right now, and this has been going on for a while, but social proof, Google reviews, especially
yeah.
Google reviews.
Yeah.
That's what you're pushing all your clients to do that will do a review. You're asking for Google.
We have
reviews.
almost 900, 5-star reviews on Google. That is the trend right now in terms of, without getting
SEO.
SEO.
Right.
And just look, you can find out in a minute anymore if someone's worth anything by Googling their name, right? So that's probably the latest thing over the past number of years. For a while, it was Zillow reviews.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you're popping up when people just type in like Portland real estate agent.
I'm right at the top.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best thing is building it naturally because that's what Google wants to emphasize. Obviously, they'll put the people who are paying at the top, and clearly it says sponsored, but for natural traction, you want to get those reviews. You want to push that, and I'm sure you have a system around like getting those reviews in after people are.
Oh yeah,
of course you do.
Our team's leads are based on them getting reviews as well.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and in terms of all the marketing stuff, like I said, I worked in marketing for 6 years, and even back in 2016 and 2017 when I was working with Facebook and Google, they were doing some pretty creepy stuff with like, let's just say that. So if it was good back then, I'm sure it's ridiculous now.
Yeah, no, it's really good. Like I said, social proof, getting it just makes conversion a lot easier. It makes, creating clients a lot easier if they can go out and figure out who you are in 3 clicks, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll say this is that I think marketing has gotten so creepy that sometimes I just think about things and they show up, and I'm sure you might.
We've all had this experience, right? We're sitting in our house talking about something in front of the A word, right? Or the S word, and all of a sudden the ad pops up, and we know it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that, like I said, that's like my experience was back in stopped in 2016 in marketing, and like I said, they're like using location tracking. If you walk near a store, and they'll, have you pop up. And like I said, now I think it's to a point where they're basically reading our minds. So
we were doing. I'm not doing it right now, but we were doing some what they call OTT, which is basically streaming television.
Yeah.
Right. All the streaming services.
Oh.
And you can geolocate. I didn't know this up until a few months ago. You can geolocate where someone is, and then make sure that you transmit that same advertisement to all of their devices.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically to an individual person.
To make sure that it shows up to that household's iPads and that all the iPhones in that household.
So you could put in your past client, your database.
You could,
I want
do
to
that.
advertise to their streaming services specifically, so when they're on whatever thing with ads, that you would be putting your message out there to all your households.
You can target people who search for, let's say, one of your competitors.
There are that, yeah.
And all of a sudden, your ad's going to show up every time they stream a television show on.
I mean, they have metrics to show if they're like interested home buyers. They can kind of tell that already. They can tell if your audience is interested home buyer, if they're a certain age range, etc. So you can target. Not based on just your database list, but based on like just people in this general area who are looking for this.
You can retarget people that have come to your website once, and now all of a sudden you show up. There's Big Brother is watching, and it's easily purchasable data.
Yeah, I mean, advertising is basically the money flow for most tech right now.
Yeah,
if anything. So.
Yep.
Did you find that advertising on these streaming services had a decent ROI?
Yeah, I mean, it's harder to track, right? Like,
right.
It's kind of like radio advertising. We do a lot of radio advertising.
Oh, you do?
It's name recognition, and it makes conversion easier.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard to track a direct action.
It's kind of like branding, right?
Yeah, it is exactly that. It's branding. What we get a lot, because my radio advertising is one of my agents will be calling someone, and they'll be like, "Hey, I'm with the Sadle team," and they're like, "Oh yeah, we know Rick." Never met him before, but they've heard my name on the radio a few times. So in that way, the streaming service advertisements worked, but you can't track ROI.
Right. It's not like, oh, this person came from a referral from this database, so I know for sure that I got X% from there. It's different.
It's tough in the marketing world. Like, there's only so many trackers you can put on everything. Like this ad and this thing, the person clicked on this, and I know it's coming from this source, that it's doing well. But like I said, at the end of the day, like there's a point where it gets lost.
Yeah, unless they fill out a specific form that's attributable to that XYZ ad.
Yeah,
it can be kind of nebulous data.
Yeah, no, like I said, I played in the marketing world for way too long, and we're always trying to take credit for getting a lead. Let's just say that's how we got paid.
Yeah, yeah.
So if they got an impression of this ad and they didn't click on it, but then they bought later, like I'll say that I'll take some credit for that. And in marketing, like you said, you're doing some branding, obviously, and you want direct action. So there's cost per click, cost per impression. So is there something that you kind of would rather focus on? You clearly want the direct action of getting a sale, right? Like they click on it and then start.
We do a mix of all those things,
Yeah.
because I think they're all important. I think that we definitely have seen, and we try really hard on our team. We have inside sales agents who talk to a lot of our prospective clients, and they will say, "How did you hear of us?" And that's about sometimes that's the only way you can figure it out, right?
Right.
So we do try and track some of the marketing related activities that don't have a direct action attached to them to make sure there's a positive ROI. But yeah.
No, I mean, my office was next to your office for a while, so I did hear a lot of that.
So it sounds like you take a pretty broad approach. You have a lot of different activities. What do you have, like a personal favorite thing that you've done throughout your career that just not necessarily has the best ROI, but it's something you enjoy doing, so it doesn't really matter for you? Like for me, for example, I like playing basketball, and every once in a while I'll meet a client or a realtor playing basketball, and so that's always going to be part of my business model, right? Because of the health benefits and other things. Is there something for you that's prospecting that's like you're never going to stop doing it because you like it?
Something that's prospecting?
Or that helps your business in some way, just some activity that's like, I love doing this, like doesn't matter how busy I get or how slow I am, I'm always going to do this.
I think one of the reasons I said yes to this is because I like talking about crap that I know about.
I see.
Right. So my way of branding our team has always been kind of the real estate expert. Right. So I do radio advertising. I'm the real estate expert on a local news talk show.
Oh, you go on a talk show regularly?
It's just a couple minute segment.
You said something about his career not going through, but it sounds like the radio broadcasting.
I'm not good at it. I'm not like.
You're doing great right now.
I definitely went in the right direction, not
Yeah.
being in front of the camera or anything. But I think teaching classes, which is something that through the short sale years in real estate, that's how we made most of our business. Right. I went out and taught people how to do short sales.
Oh, nice.
They realized how hard they were, and they would refer them to me.
You'd go to like teach to agent class, like go into brokers' places.
Yeah, I
and
worked
teach to a
with
bunch
a
of
title
agents.
company,
Yeah.
did continuing education
Yeah.
for 3 or 4 years, and that's how I got most of our business at that point. So going on the news and doing the real estate segment on Monday mornings,
What channel is that on?
well, it's on.
Or I guess is it XM or?
It's KXL. It's FM.
Okay, and it's how long is the segment?
It's just a couple minutes.
Oh, okay.
It's just
and you give like a regular market update or tips or
whatever the topic of the moment is right now. It might be interest rates. It might be what part of town is hot. It's whatever. The news anchor actually comes up with the segment and calls me and.
Okay, and
we
does he
chat
give you a
about it.
prompt ahead of time so you can have a little bit of time to research? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we do that. I do that once a week, and just things like that. Things where I can educate people about the market is something that I'm comfortable doing. And as opposed to knocking on a for sale by owner door or something.
Totally,
like
yeah.
that.
Where do you get for this research besides the MLS? Where do you get your data from, or is that like your main poll?
Oh no, I'm a voracious reader
Yeah.
of every single real estate related article from anywhere. Like I just read. I read a lot of financial stuff. I enjoy believe it or not, all the CPI data that comes out.
I follow.
I'm sure you do.
I
right?
have.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to, but yeah.
So we talk about doing things that I enjoy. I enjoy collecting data, digesting that, and being able to talk about it.
Oh, okay.
So it's MLS, it's news articles, it's talking to other agents, it's hearing from economists, it's all that stuff.
Oh, cool. Did you write like a blog as well, or do any of that kind of?
I don't. Like I said,
think
the
he's
things
busy
that I
enough.
enjoy. I don't mind getting up and talking in front of people.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I was gonna say I think you're busy enough. You have a lot going on.
I also like reading data too, and that's like why I started writing a blog, is so I could force me to read the data, and B, it forced me to put it in a way that other people could understand.
To be able to digest it and explain it.
Yeah, it sounds like that's what you do at the radio show, which is I love that.
That would be great. Maybe Chat GPT can help me.
Well,
maybe I'll do a blog.
I mean, have you not
If I
been
don't
on-
have to do all the actual typing. Yeah.
No, have you not been on one of those Zooms where it sends the conversation afterwards from the AI where it records the Zoom conversation and puts all the key points from the questions. So you could probably have it listen to your talk and then convert it to...
You're just giving him more tech ideas.
Great, more things for me to spend my time on. No, I do write scripts with ChatGPT.
Oh, there you go.
If I spew out some of my scripts that live in my head, and then I adjust it, so... Anyways,
nice.
Sooner or later, robots will do it all, and we'll be good.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like since like I said, I was next to your office, and I'm constantly hearing your agents doing calls. It sounds like the lifeblood of your team is like doing those calls. Can you kind of go through your process of like how that kind of helps your business and how it grows it?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been, even when I was doing it myself, and I always believe that the highest ROI is reaching out to people, right? Like that's in terms of low expense, high return. We're a prospecting based team. Real estate is a contact sport. That's just I told you earlier. I feel like it's a numbers game, right? I can sit down and look at the number of conversations someone has through whatever medium, right? It could be cold calling, it could be warm calling, it could be whatever, and I can work backwards to how much money they should make, right? So I think that being able to train agents to get over their fear of conversations first, and then teach them how to have those conversations is the quickest way to success in real estate, in my opinion. Also, kind of how I'm wired, right? So you do what you know. That's what I did when I grew up in real estate. Was I went and knocked on doors. I called FSBOs. That's how you get business, especially when you're new. And so our team is we do a lot of marketing. We talked about that, but it's to enhance the prospecting.
Yeah,
right.
It's to add value.
It's all supplemental to the real fishing,
right? Which is to go out there and talk to people. That's the only way you find customers.
I mean, because I feel like the cold calling, that is not an intangible skill, but how do you kind of measure that? Because obviously you can't always. Do you listen to them on the phone and see how well they're doing, to see how personable they are? Are we just like straight metrics? Are you converting? Are you closing? Are you doing this?
No. So we have a training program on the team, first of all, that teaches them all the scripts and dialogues that we use. Right. First 90 days, that's a lot of what they're doing is learning what we know to be effective scripts and dialogues and conversations. And then after that, it's self-reported.
Okay.
Because here's what I know. If you're reporting to me that you're having 75 conversations a week and you haven't set an appointment in a month, you either really need some help with scripts and dialogues, or you're not really talking to 75 people a week, right?
Yeah.
And they're only hurting themselves by lying. So what I know is I can prescribe exactly what they need to do in order to become successful real estate agents. And if they do it, they will be. Yeah. And if they don't, they won't be. Because we know it works now after 20 years of doing this, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So no, I don't listen to them. They go on a forum every night and say they talk to you. And the rule in our team is you have to be able to ask the question. That's a conversation. That's a contact. They don't have to say yes. They don't have to even engage you very much. You just have to be able to ask the question, are you thinking about buying or selling real estate?
Okay.
They give you a yes or no answer. That's a contact.
Right.
And our team, you have a minimum of 75 contacts a week. If you have those contacts, then you're eligible to receive some of the radio leads or some of the other, the ISA set appointments or those things.
So you start them out on like super cold leads before they move on to something warmer.
Let's call them. We don't do much dialing into a neighborhood, right? We don't actually just pick numbers out of what used to be a phone book. You guys probably don't know what that is.
Not that young, okay?
I used to have at least 10 of my friends' phone numbers memorized. So.
Right. Anyways, so internet leads or older internet leads, those kinds of things are what we start them on generally. It's just dialing through our data. We have 53,000 people in our database, right? Yeah. At this point, so they could spend all day, every day dialing through there trying to make contacts, and so that's what we start them on to get over the kind of fear of conversations before we pass them on to what we might call warmer leads.
Okay. Well, I kind of wanted to circle back a little bit to, like your thoughts on investment properties. Obviously, you started with that, and I kind of want to see what your thought process was on that since you started your business. Obviously, you seem to built a very successful business that seems to be a little bit more hands-off since you've been having people specialize in different positions. But can you kind of tell us your thoughts on real estate investing since then?
Well, I mean, so I spend enough because investing, whether it's real estate or in a business, what they say is they they did a study. I don't know if you guys heard this. There are something like 20 million people that have $1 million in cash in their bank that they could invest across the world, right? And there's 7 billion people.
Okay. 20 million across the world.
Yeah.
Okay.
Across the world.
Not in the U.S.
They did a poll, and what do you think the number one way was that those people ended up with that much liquid cash?
I mean, it's got to be real estate.
Okay. Anyone else? Any other guesses?
I mean, that's what I would assume because I worked in tech and I made my money in real estate, so I'm going to say real estate, but go ahead.
The number one way was having your parents die.
Oh, inheritance.
Right.
Yeah, of course, inheritance. Yeah, sure.
The number 2 way was owning a business.
A business.
And number 3 was real estate.
Okay.
Right? So the path to wealth, as far as I'm concerned, and independence, let's not even call it wealth. Let's call it being able to do what you want, is through owning a business or investing in real estate.
Yeah.
That's it, right?
Well, inheritance. But how did your parents get it?
We can't talk about that.
Yeah,
we can't kill our parents.
Would that be
You assume that your parents got it through business or real estate, right?
So for a number, we started off investing in real estate before we got into the business.
Yeah.
Right. And then after the crash, we took a break. Looking back, maybe I shouldn't have. Right, there was a lot of opportunity from 2008 to 2012, like just amazing opportunities. But instead, I was investing in my business.
Yeah.
Right. So
Because you had just started it, so it's like the time to like really double down, right?
Double down, and things got kind of scary in 2008 and 2009 for those of us in the business, and even though for those of us who had some knowledge, we didn't know exactly where the market was going to be or how long it was going to last.
Plus, a lot of your competition was probably saying bye.
So that was the great part
Right.
about that whole thing, right? That's we increased market share every year from then on. But so it wasn't until probably 4 or 5 years ago that I had my eyes kind of reopened, if you will. I mean, I own a couple of rentals. I don't mean that. But I met up with an investor friend, and that's all he does.
Mm-hmm.
He invests in real estate in multitudes of different ways: partnerships, wholesaling, flipping, owning, subject to investing,
Right.
all that stuff. And he made me realize that I happen to have a machine that I'm not taking advantage of. Like if you think about it, we listed, I don't know, 100 and something properties last year.
Okay.
Which means we talked to 300 sellers.
Right.
And I wasn't buying any of those houses.
You didn't buy a single one of
Right?
those houses.
Like what an idiot.
You could have got it before you put it on the market and got a sweet ass deal, basically.
I mean, yeah, there's some rules around what I can and can't do as an agent, as you know. But there were many, many opportunities there, which over the past number of years I've started to take advantage of.
Yeah.
I've started to realize that, with the advent of Open Door and Zillow, iBuying, that it's not always about the best dollar figure for the seller.
Yep.
It could be about convenience. It could be about, we've done some investing where the sellers financed it because they didn't really need the money, and they could get, 7% out of me when the market was only giving out 4.5%.
Yes.
But for me, it was still a deal because I didn't have to come up with much cash. Anyways.
Yeah. People like it, that annuity, that regular cash. People love that.
Yeah.
And so what I've discovered is that, I now have on my team 7, 8, 10 people out there at all times looking for deals. Not really. That's not what their sole goal is, but they're in contact with sellers every day.
Right.
Of all kinds of different properties, and now I kind of get to pick and choose. As a matter of fact, we're starting an investment group on our team because a lot of my agents, we talked earlier, what can you do to keep people on your team, give them, right? Building wealth, obviously, is one of them, and helping them invest in real estate is become a focus of our team now. So we're creating an investment group on the team, so when we uncover some of these deals that might make sense, people can opt in or out.
Oh, that's awesome, yeah.
So I got back into investing because I became so focused on building my business and creating a passive income that way that I lost sight of it didn't even have to it was in conjunction with the thing I was already doing.
Right, you didn't have to change your model.
I didn't have to change my business model. I just had to take advantage of the opportunities that were presenting themselves. And what you guys probably both know is you don't even have to you don't even have to have liquid cash. I mean, luckily we do, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But you don't. There are a lot of ways to invest and build wealth where you don't have to have that much money.
Totally.
One thing that was pointed out to me recently was if I sent out an email to my 53,000 person database and said, hey, anyone out there, if I come across a good deal, anybody want to return on their money? I would get back 100 responses of people going, oh yeah, if you got something, bring it to me.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't even have to have the money yourselves. Anyways.
Well, we always talk about real estate being a passive business. It's not always, like
No,
I started,
not always.
That's the thing. And you have a passive business. Have you ever thought like which one would be a better fit for your lifestyle in terms of, ease of the best use of your time and what you enjoy? Because you did build a business that, like I said, not that you don't train your team directly, but you seem to have structured it so it's kind of running it on its own.
Well, I mean, that might feel that way.
Yeah.
I do still put in 40 hours a week
Okay.
to the team. I just do it in different ways now. I'm trying to grow my team, trying to create. My goal is to eventually have a CEO, someone who runs the team.
Yeah.
What they call it in our business, 7th level, right? Like,
Right.
I'm probably at like 6.5 level, like, meaning that I'm a 1 or 2 hires away from being there.
Yeah.
But every time I think I'm going to step in that direction, then something in the market happens, right?
Yeah.
So for 2021, it was like, oh, I need to like just grow, right?
Yeah.
Like, and then
Yep.
right now, it's with the shift in the other direction. It's like, I need to continue to grow, but maybe manage the money a little better right now.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, at some point, it will be passive. Which fits my lifestyle better? I think I can do both.
Is it something you want to step away from though? I mean, there's a love for the business, right? And that's why you do the 40 hours a week. Because it's not like you need the money, the need to do the 40 hours to have a living income.
No, I do need the 40 hours a week for my family. When I say my family, I don't mean my actual family. I mean my team family.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
As if I don't stay on the forefront, or if I don't have a person who stays on the forefront of what the latest trend is,
Yep.
then I can't help them all grow.
You're responsible to your employees now.
I got mouths to feed,
Yeah.
right? So at some point, it's a love of the business, but it's a love of the people too. It's a love of like. So at some point, I'll find the right person, and I'm constantly looking for that person who could do what I do, and then I can step aside. And then I'll do other things. I want to start a mortgage company at some point. I want to have title. There's a lot of other things that ancillary business you can make money off of being in our business.
Yeah.
Besides,
So you can be a one-stop shop. Kind of.
one-stop shop, and continue to uncover more real estate deals because that's the number 2 way to build wealth, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I think it's really important. I mean, it's not just a numbers game. I mean, there's culture. You got to build culture in your business. You got to make sure that people enjoy working together, that they have a purpose to be there. And I'm sure that's a lot of what you have to do with, you said like 25 people on your team.
Yeah, there's a lot of personalities to manage, a lot of people that I want to make sure they get what they want. So that's what I spend a lot of my time doing is helping them try and get what they want.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much value that people get out of working outside of just making that paycheck or building wealth. Like sometimes people just want to be in a situation they like, and I think it's really important to build that.
But to go back to your question, I would like to have a much bigger real estate portfolio than I do.
I mean, who wouldn't?
Right.
And what are you targeting now? Are you still looking at single family stuff? Are you looking more at multifamily or?
I'm looking at focus on what you know, right?
Right.
So our team is primarily
You guys are
single
doing
family,
all single family, right?
And like I said earlier, in theory, I have 10 bird dogs,
Right.
out there looking for potential deals. Right now, my goal is just 2 properties a year,
Okay.
and I've done that for the past few years. And when I say buy them, I mean either buy them and hold them or buy them and flip them, depending on what the best exit strategy is, right?
Yeah.
But that will go up here soon.
And so flipping to me is like, I know it's like very real estate heavy, but to me, I feel like it's also pretty different in the sense that it's like there's a lot of time investment. There's a lot of like, just manual labor in it. How have you have you always been understood that world, or was that like a new thing for you trying to get into the renovation process, or you just hired it all out and had good connections?
There's got to be enough margin for me to sub it all out.
Right.
Like I said, I
was
like
the math?
you said, I don't have that much
Yeah.
time. I'm not going to go to manage a remodel project, right?
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
So I do it through partnerships or through trusted relationships.
You kind of found people that had experience there. You find the deal, and then you partner on it and do it together.
Right.
That makes
Someone else
sense.
has managed the project.
Yeah.
Or, we've done them where it's just a straight wholesale. We made $75,000 on a deal. We bought a property and then we sold it to another investor.
Yeah, signed the
and
contract
made,
to someone else. Yeah.
Well, the ones that are like being renovated, are you checking in? Are you having your opinion? Or are you just like, do you guys do it? I trust you. My partner's got this, and I can be completely.
No,
confident.
we have a meeting every week, and I am fully versed on. I have too many control issues to totally let it go.
Well, you're eventually going to be selling. You're eventually going to be selling it, right? So you want to make sure it's fit in the way that is the product
absolutely,
that you can put your name behind.
Yeah.
So
some of them will make more sense to buy and hold. It just depends. If there's a good return, then yeah.
Can I ask what your criteria is for what a good return is in terms of what you think?
Yeah, that's funny. I've been asked this question a lot, especially as we're starting this investment group on our team. I've been asking everyone what their risk tolerance is, right? What is it? What do you consider a good return? And for me, I think, because I've been trying to quantify that, it really comes down to a low risk exit strategy.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean by that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like if I buy and hold this, and we have for some reason a COVID vacancy period of 6 months again, right? Or we can't you can't enforce evictions and stuff like that. Does the property cash flow enough to sustain that? I don't want to feed anything anymore. I'm past the point in my life where I feel like I need to feed stuff. So if it's a buy and hold, it's got to have enough margin to self-sustain for a period of time.
okay.
If it's a flip, it's got to be, I know that if I turned around and sold this at bottom dollar, that I at least walk away even.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So when my investment team on my team started asking me, well, what's your risk tolerance? I tried to quantify it, but it's kind of unquantifiable. It's kind of like, if I know from my real estate knowledge that I can turn around and sell this and not have to take a bath,
Yeah.
then I'm
Right.
okay. Did I
Right.
make $20,000? Yeah, it's fine, as long as I got a safe exit strategy.
Like basically, your worst case scenario, you don't lose anything.
Right. I don't have to
Okay.
feed something.
Yeah.
Rental, flip, whatever other kind of investment, wholesale. Like I'm gonna get out and I'm gonna be clean because I'm not.
Well, is there a point where you're just like, this is a good number that I would like to like, I'm happy making money? Because we don't go into deals to not make, to think about the worst case scenario of getting out.
Oh, of course, yeah. I always aim to make $1, but I think my point with that was that if I make $10,000 and I have a totally easy exit strategy, I know I can walk away from, but $10,000 is the goal, then I'm good with $10,000.
You're fine with it.
Okay.
Okay.
If we flipped a manufactured home in a park. We bought the thing for $25,000. We put $40,000 into it and sold it for $150,000.
Wow.
I was only into it for 20. Like there was no way that I couldn't turn around and sell
Right.
that.
Worst case scenario, right? Back to your metric of worst case scenario.
Comps in the park were selling for 135 to 150. The lowest one that sold was like 125.
Yeah.
So I knew that if we bought it for 25, put 40 into it, that I for sure was going to make a little bit of money, but there was no way I was going to lose it all. Right. So I don't know if that's a
No, that's a
some,
great example.
Some investors say
yeah.
I want to make 20% or I want
Yeah,
to
like they have their cash on cash return.
right.
amount.
Yeah, all those metrics that they track. For me, it's just in my point in my life, I have a lifestyle that I enjoy. I'm not a gambler anymore. I have a business to run, and I'm not going to do the whole take a chance to hit a home run, but also take the chance that I might have a major loser.
Oh yeah.
I think that makes sense too, because that will open you up to those smaller projects, and sometimes those smaller projects lead to bigger projects. Plus, it gives work to your team and all your teammates. It keeps them fed. Like
And if I had minimal investment in time and or cash, and I made $10,000, what do I care? Like,
That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't have a specific percentage. I have an exit, low risk exit strategy is my.
I mean, isn't it fun that we had to plan around like COVID type events now, or like high
Right,
interest rate
that's-
spikes? You know?
Oh my goodness, we had so many investor friends and clients that took a total bath during that period of time. That it's one more thing that I consider. I'm like, if the government tells me I can't enforce evictions for 6 months, am I okay?
Oh yeah, that was a tough time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, among your client base, do you work with a bunch of investors? What would you say? Are you more like kind of first time home buyer or like move up buyer, or is it pretty mixed?
The answer is yes.
Yeah. And what are you seeing trend?
We have all.
You have everything. So trend wise, what are you seeing for your investors now? In the sense of like it's more cash people or it's more X price point or
It's definitely more cash people because right now the cost of money,
Yeah.
right? Even though, honestly, if we look back historically, it's relatively low still.
Yep.
But people got so used to all the investors that grew up over the past since however long it's been now, right? The idea of a 10% hard money loan or a 12% hard money loan to get money is just they just can't even fathom it.
Right.
And it means you have to have so much more margin on the purchases to either to flip, or if you're trying to borrow money for your investment property to get a rental loan of I don't even know what they're going for right now, but probably 7 or 8 or 9%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, percent or so above market, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
That just means you have to get a better deal on the purchase in order to cash flow. So, which obviously we know right now the struggle with our market is
It's
that
very challenging.
cost of money is going up, prices aren't going down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So the margins are becoming thinner. So I think cash is, and look, we have as an economy, we still have, and I know they're starting to run out a little bit. There was so much cash
There's a
built
lot,
up over the
yeah.
past three plus years
Mm-hmm.
that they're starting to come out a little bit now.
Okay, so you've been seeing a lot of cash investors. Makes
Yes, absolutely.
sense. And price point wise, have you noticed like a certain spot? Like I've been following, the different price index, and it seems like the higher priced homes have been taking a little bit more of price hit. Have you been seeing investors in that higher price, or is it more in the lower price?
No, I think it's still in the more in the lower price, which obviously are harder to find.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you just have again when we talk about cash flow and margin and stuff like that, the higher priced homes, there's a cap, right? There's a cap what you can charge on rent for a $2 million property, where does it make sense anymore? So
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say, I mean, in terms of like cash buyers, I mean, like that, I find that hard with my clients who are investors because they don't want to put out that much money to go. Like, I'm gonna go put out $600,000 to go make like $2,000 a month.
right, and now I can't use that $600,000
Yeah, that's a
anymore.
lot of money out of
right,
pocket,
yeah.
So that's the tough part in terms of this market. Like, so I have a lot of people sitting on the sidelines.
Yep.
Like I said, waiting for those interest rates to drop, but then it's like, okay, well, we're gonna be bidding against a lot of people when or if it does drop.
Right.
know?
That's the problem, right? Like the problem that we're going to run into is, I mean, look, it all rolls back to inventory. We just don't have enough inventory. We haven't had for years and years and years, and we're not going to for a large number of years. And so when interest rates do come back down, what happens to prices?
Definitely going to go up.
Yeah, they're headed right back up, right?
Like I said, I always feel like there's a balance point.
Yes.
That's exactly what it is. Like regardless. Just,
I don't know that we'll find it.
yeah, I don't know.
I think it's going to be a struggle for a while. And mainly that all goes back to the 10 years lost of developing. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm hoping for some consistency in the market in terms of like just not high fluctuation because the market always takes some time to adjust to it, just like we saw last year when rates spiked and then there was just no action in the fall time. If we just have some consistency for a while and people get used to it, then hopefully we can find that balance.
and I think we will. I was mostly kidding, but
Yeah.
I think we're gonna, in terms of prices, I think we're gonna sit about here for the next year and a half or so.
Yeah.
And we're gonna see interest rates chill out, and we're gonna see the consumer mindset realize that 5 to 6% is what it should be. We never should have in our lifetime. We never should have saw 3%, and we likely won't see it again. In my if you want the genius that is me, like I know everything, right? But I just, we're paying we borrowed too many buyers from the future in this 3% rates, and so I think
that makes sense.
I think we'll see some stability over the next.
I
year
did
or
just
so.
have a client reach out to me and say like, I feel like we've been, waiting, and on that mindset of like, oh, it's going to get better. And we've been doing this for 4, 5, 6 years now, and it's time. It's finally time to just suck it up and go for it.
Well, and you're probably seeing this in your business, but there are strategies to mitigate the interest rates right now.
Sure.
Right? There are many strategies to mitigate it, and so as soon as people start to realize that this is what it is, it's what it should be, it's what it's going to be, and that there are ways still to deal with whether it's arms or points buy downs
right.
or any of those things, I think people will start to realize, and that obviously that's our job, right? We're to educate them.
Totally.
Give them the tools they need to figure out a solution,
to help them realize their goals and dreams.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you were to suggest to somebody who was like interested in getting into, real estate investing or the business of real estate, what would you say to them?
Well, the business of real estate, I would say, anymore, join a team.
Yeah. Start with the team.
I know I'm biased because obviously I run a team. Come call me. No, but honestly, it's like getting a master's degree,
right?
In the time that it takes you to get your college degree. Like you just get exposed to so much more. And by the way, 10 years from now, I think we'll mostly be teams. That's my
you think
prediction.
so? You think everything's going to go?
I think it's been heading
teams.
in that direction, and I think it will continue to do so, especially as we see some. And we don't head down this rabbit trail, but the lawsuits with NAR and all that stuff, I think we'll start seeing teams be even more of a thing than they have been in the past. But so getting into real estate, I would say join a team, get your education that way. Stay on the team, doesn't matter, right?
Right.
Getting into investing, I think for me, my biggest, and I learned this, like I said, just 4 or 5 years ago, which is just to remove the mindset of I've got to have X number of dollars. I've got to. There are so many ways to get into investing in real estate that you just got to start to see opportunities everywhere. And I don't know if that's too vague of an answer.
Care less about a specific metric and more about the right deal or the right structuring with the right partner.
Did you guys ever watch The Secret?
I have not. This the book with the big red stamp on it.
Right? Yeah. Well, anyway, I won't get too deep into the airy-fairy part of it, but basically, they did a study once on people who thought of themselves as lucky, and people who didn't think of themselves as lucky or thought of themselves as unlucky. And they put a $20 bill down the bottom of the steps, and they sent each section of people past that $20 bill, and I don't know, 90% of the lucky people found the $20 bill, and 4 people who were unlucky, found the $20 bill. And the difference is all in just looking for and believing that there are opportunities out there and finding ways to make them happen, right? Whether it's, and if you're investing in real estate, it's maybe it's a partner or a parent who can co-sign with you on an investment property, or they're just keeping an open mind to that and keeping that front of mind will create so many. I know it sounds totally airy-fairy, but it'll create so many opportunities.
No, I totally agree. I mean, things change. I mean, you buy. Let's just say they do buy the property, and there's a different opportunity. Maybe this long-term rental turns into a short-term rental, or hey, my nurse friend wants to stay here for 3 months, and you get into a whole new business. You just have to be out to listen and find out.
My son bought a house a couple of years ago, and we've been after him since he's now 32. We've been after him since he was 19 to buy a house, right? Finally did 4 or 5 years ago, and just happened to do it right before the explosion of equity, right?
Yeah.
And so we've been on him, and now his goal is to turn that house over and turn it into a rental. It's a nice little, what was a $450,000 house in Cedar Hills, right? It's probably now more like $600,000.
Nice.
But to turn that into a rental and move on, right? And I don't know that he would have been wired that way, except for the exposure to opportunities, right? He would have been one of those. He's a very conservative guy. I bought my house.
Yep.
But I think that he realizes that there are opportunities out there he could take advantage of.
To me, that's the opportunity that I'm marketing to right now. I think that's the biggest opportunity. People that bought 4 or 5 years ago that have a low mortgage that can convert it into a rental.
So much equity.
Have a lot of equity that can, even if their new mortgage is more expensive, you can definitely defray that cost with converting your old home into a rental. And then 20, 30 years from now, what are you going to have?
Retirement.
Yeah, exactly.
No, seriously. That's
it's a huge opportunity for people right now.
What was the latest stat? Over 80% of Americans have at least 20% equity in their house, and over 60% have like 60% equity in their house, and somewhere in the neighborhood of 30+% don't owe a dime on their house.
I think it's over 26% or something like that now that are mortgage free.
Mortgage free, right? Yeah,
it's crazy.
That's money
Yeah.
that you could be building wealth on, right? We talked earlier about cash investors not wanting to blow all $600,000. Well, if you got 50 grand or 100 grand in equity, that's 20% down on a rental, right? Yeah. Anyways, people should do that.
I like that.
Go do that.
Yeah, leverage for sure. I mean, like you said, when I talk to my investors, like I said, it pains me to think that they're going to put $600,000 out on
Right.
one thing, and unless they're like multi-millionaires and can do that comfortably, like I was like, that's a lot of your money to put into one thing all at once.
And you're choosing to grow. I mean, look, there's no sure deal, but if there were anything that was close to a sure deal, it's real estate.
Yeah.
Right? Over time, it's always a sure deal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, if you have to
going
sell
back
in
and
2 or 3 years, you could be in trouble.
right.
Yeah.
But to take 20 or 30% down if you're buying a rental property, if you got the cash or equity in your house, or if you were a cash investor, instead of paying cash for that place, I would take a 7%, 8% mortgage all day long.
Yeah, I mean, I talk to people all the time about, go get a spreadsheet of all this percent down, and are you comfortable with that payment when you put 5% down? Are you comfortable with that at 10% down? Like, find your comfort zone of what makes sense to you and works for your financial situation. And if you have 600 grand very comfortably to buy a property and you're totally happy to do it, I can't stop you.
Good for you. I wouldn't suggest it, but yeah, good for you.
Yeah, I'd buy like 5 properties with that.
Right. And as long as you got like a 10% vacancy rate figured into your figures, you're relatively safe. Don't call me if that goes wrong. But.
Speaking of calling you, if someone wanted to reach out to you to be able to learn more about your team or what you guys do, what's the best way to contact you?
Probably just call our office number or email our
They can find you on your website. What's your
website? Is sadlerealestate.com, SADLE realestate.com, or they can just Google Rick Sadle.
Okay, great. Oh, well, thank you so much. We really, really appreciate you coming on the show. I feel like time passed so quickly. We learned a lot.
Yeah, no worries. I appreciate you guys having me.
Yep.
Thanks, Rick.